Welcome to another episode of the DigiTavern. On today's episode, Freddo and I are talking immersion gameplay. Does it make or break your lore? And later on in the discussions, we get into a little lore. Let's roll the intro.
Barkeep, pour me a drink.
Hey Bart, spin that shit.
Alright, Freddo.
What's up, man?
Episode 5.
Yep. How are you doing? Pretty good?
I'm okay. I'm pumped. I'm jazzed. It's a little late. I'm a little tired. But that's okay. I'm alive.
It's alright, we're used to being up late.
That's right. That's we have to get a better schedule.
That's alright, though.
We're making do. How you been, Fredo? How's life on your side?
It's been pretty good. A lot of stuff going on my end. It's actually pretty good. It could be better, but you know.
I thought you said sexually pretty good.
I mean, sure.
No, don't lie to the good people. That's hilarious. But with that being said, with our catch-ups out of the way, let's get into the topic at hand. So we have been talking a little bit about like immersion and lore and stuff like that. And the thing is like when we talk about immersion, we're talking about like what we take from the game itself and how we apply it to how we play the game. And a lot of people have a different way of doing things. Like some people only play certain games at night because it makes it feel like a movie. Or for you, example, you like to like not have a HUD. Me, yeah. I like to kind of take my positioning of my character from the character perspective and play the game that way. So, with that being said, let's get into the topic. How are you playing your games? Like, how immersion-wise, how are you playing your games? What makes you feel the most immersed into the games you play?
One of the things that I kind of immediately do when I kind of pick up a new game is check the difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
Like I will actually, before I even start playing a game, I'll probably like research to see what type of difficulty it is. Like is it just like we're gonna go ahead and raise the HP of these monsters to take a lot more bullets or a lot more sword slashes than it should.
Okay.
So that's one of the first things I'd take. Like if all they do is just make the HP bigger or longer and it doesn't add any more difficulty besides that, I'll just leave it on normal.
Okay.
But if it does kind of like a realism kind of damage, kind of like the first person to shoot kind of wins type of deal, then will more than likely go towards that.
Okay, see that does make a little sense because in Division, one of the biggest problems with that game was the difficulty of that game was they were just bullet sponges. They would just take bullet shots after shots after shot. So it didn't make the game feel like it was really hard. It just made it feel like these enemies, like you're just like unloading clip after clip after clip.
Yeah, and to me that kind of killed the game for me. Like I loved everything else, but as soon as I started shooting these guys, especially the guys that had like flamethrowers, and they would take forever to knock out. Like I was just like, this is not cool. Like,
but that was a good game though.
Yeah, it was, and I think they fixed it.
They did.
They kind of messed with it, but like when I first played it, it really took me out like right away. Out of this whole world. Like they did such a good job of like recreating New York.
Mm-hmm.
And then that happened, and I was like, oh man, like this is just not gonna work. So I did stop playing that specific game for that reason alone. But I heard it got better, so I kind of want to go back and try it now. But we'll see.
Well, they changed it for Division 2. Like they made the enemies more aware, and they had them adapt. So they're not just like bullet sponges anymore. So they're more tactical about how they attack you. So you'll have somebody attack from the flank or try to route you out one way so that they can kind of gank you on one side. So it's a lot smarter now. And I will say, like, I've seen the game played. I've not played it, but I've seen a lot of it played. It seems like it's much harder because they're trying to outwit you and you're trying to outwit them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll look forward to playing that. But really, when I first start a game, that's all I look for is the difficulty. Secondly, I look at the HUD options. Like, can this game be played with as minimal HUD as possible?
Yeah.
Is it even like possible to do? Because a lot of devs don't add that option.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of add like the no HUD or HUD, but there's no like in between.
Well, a lot of games are coming out with like simplified HUDs as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of them because I think there is a actual like market for that.
What do you
like
mean?
a lot of market for people who don't want a lot of HUD or stuff like interrupt their gameplay. I know there is a lot of people that like, let's say, damage numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a game has damage numbers, I immediately try and see if I can get rid of them.
See, I'm a damage numbers kind of person. Like I like to see that, and that's because I play a lot of MMOs, and I kind of rely on that to know if my rotation's good, and then I know like, oh, okay, I'm getting a crit point at this during this rotation, and I just kind of got used to always seeing them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I know why they're there, and I know why people like them. Just personally, for me, if they're there, I want to get rid of them immediately.
Right. And I will say, like, there are some games that don't need that because it makes the game seem like a game, and obviously the games are games, but
Well, yeah, obviously.
the whole point of playing, like, the whole point of being immersed into the game is to have an immersion feeling, make the game feel more real, and getting rid of those numbers is probably a big deal. But I will say that, like, games where the character's like maybe wearing a mask or like a helmet, I feel like that's okay because immersion wise, maybe the helmet could pick up the damage that's being dealt. That's just kind of how I see that sometimes. So Mass Effect has a character that's wearing a suit that is meant to pick up attack damage, both incoming and outgoing. So I feel like when you have numbers like being on the screen saying like, oh, you're doing this much damage, that's a part of the immersion.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree to that?
Yeah, definitely. Like for sci-fi games, I just kind of throw that out the window. Like as far as damage numbers, or like in Halo when he has the whole, you could see how much damage you're taking.
Yeah.
Like your HP and all that. Like whenever it's like sci-fi games, I just I'm like, there's probably gonna be something like that in the future, so I'll allow it.
It seems accurate to like what could be real.
Especially like in let's give an example in Destiny, like whenever you press tab and you pull out your ghost and he kind of
Mhm.
tells you like you need to go that way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that little icon.
Yeah.
Like I'll allow that just because I'm probably have some futuristic stuff.
Yeah,
in
that's
my-
linked to
in
your
my-
helmet. Yeah, to your
Yeah,
helmet.
so-
Yeah.
So then I'm like, that's fine. But if like in The Witcher, when there's icons floating around, I
Mhm.
turn them off.
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't make sense for me. But
See, and that's the thing where it's like, I've learned that from you because I'm the kind of person that don't never really mess with that stuff. I never mess with my heads up display. I never touched anything like that. I would add subtitles because I like to read what's being said. I
Yeah,
know,
it's one of the ones I leave up.
like
Subtitles, I
some people
always
don't
do.
like that though. Like some people don't like subtitles because it's like they feel like it takes away from what's being on screen, and they would rather see it and hear it rather than read it. And I get that, but I like subtitles. But one of the things that you suggested, which was getting rid of the HUD or the compass at least, and play the game that way. And I tried that for the first time with Horizon, and that made that game feel so much more immersive for me because like you're just wandering around these plains and mountains and just and they do such a good job of making like the sun point this direction and that direction out for you. So it's like
Yeah.
you can really travel by using the elements around you. So
And that's the
it
type
makes it
of
better.
stuff you notice when you turn off the HUD. You
I
start
agree.
noticing, like, all right, west is that way, north is
Mhm.
that way. A lot of the
Yep.
games, like even if it's a different world, they'll still take those types of elements.
Mhm.
Except in like sci-fi, because that shit gets crazy. Because there'll be like 3 suns. So
Yeah.
you'll be like, I don't know which way is north or south. But then, if you kind of look at the map and you kind of understand,
Yeah.
then it makes sense. Sometimes game developers do that on purpose. Sometimes they don't. So,
Right.
but yeah, you start picking up on little things like that, which is why I like to play that way.
And I like that though. Like that's something that I've started doing now that I really enjoy. Um, so like I recently the last single player game that I played was well, the last two I would say. The first one was Shadows of War, which is the Shadow of Mordor series, and having no screen or no HUD on there made the game feel just more open because there tends to be a lot of like things in the way of the screen. It's like you have a quest tracker, you have your minions, you have your compass, you have your mini map, you have your weapons in the bottom, you have your armor on the left side. There's a lot of stuff in there. So when I got rid of that stuff, it just made it feel like, okay, now I can see the screen, I can see the game in front of me and not just pop-ups. So that was a big one that I did that for, and I think I prefer having no HUD now. But a game like Kingdom Come Deliverance, that is a game that pretty much, it's like a simulator game. So that means no HUD. That means like you're just playing the game. Like you're jumping in, and welcome to medieval times where when you put on a helmet that has a visor that's slotted, your screen is going to get slotted so that you have to play with that kind of vision. Whereas like a game like Skyrim, you put a helmet on, you still have full vision.
Yeah, nothing happens.
Nothing happens, yeah. And I thought that was really cool because it's like, it's so nuts because like when you wear the slotted helmet, the angle of the slot that you can see out of is kind of lifted downward. And I always thought that was like an error in the game. But if you go back and you watch the devs when they're talking about slotted helmets, typically you would keep your head down, tilted down as a knight, so that when you were fighting, nothing would come into your eyes. So like you wouldn't get something in your eyes, so that you can keep seeing and maintain visuals while you're in battle. So that's why it's angled downwards. And I'm like, that's hardcore immersion. Like that's
like
going
deep.
above and beyond.
Yeah. That's the type of stuff I really like. I followed that game, like when it first started at like Kickstarter, I think, or like when they first announced it. I have not picked it up yet, but I will eventually. But I know that game like takes it hardcore. Like you even have like layers of clothing.
Yeah.
You know, like that's really cool.
Yeah, that. It's such a different game because it's not like it's not a fantasy game. It's not like a sci-fi game. It's an RPG game, but it's like it's a real game, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So it's
What do you think about like in Mass Effect? whenever you go into like a new planet or something, Shepard will have his mask on. But then like as soon as you go inside a building or something, like he doesn't have it anymore.
Well, that's a feature though. Like I have that feature off, so it's like when he was in combat, it was on. Is that what you're talking about? Like having the on helmet thing? Yeah,
I made sure it was like kind of accurate. I made sure if I'm in the middle of space, he has his helmet on.
Yeah, of course. But the thing
like
is,
if I'm in town or something, you can take it off.
Right, and that's the thing is like, so in Andromeda, like when you're establishing bases on a lot of these planets, like this is the first time you're ever doing anything. So basically, you're trailblazing, I guess, like little city states on these planets. So you can't really breathe the air. So when you're in that zone, there's basically like they've made this like technology where it's like you can breathe the atmosphere, but you have to stay within that zone. But the moment that you step out, he has to like click a button on himself, and then his helmet goes over, and then he's able to like, or he puts on his helmet and then he's able to like walk around, because if not, then you start suffocating. Which like I thought they fixed that issue where it's like, oh, I'm in Omega, I have my helmet on in battle. Oh, all of a sudden I'm having a conversation with this alien and my helmet's off, but I never took it off. Yeah, like they fixed that, because that was a little weird.
Yeah. They do. I think I like that they do catch things like that and fix them though.
Yeah, because it means that they're paying attention to like the immersion part of the game. Like you want to keep it as accurate as possible. It's like there's
some devs that do immersion like really well.
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red.
They do a fantastic job.
There's another one, I forgot. Like, and it doesn't have to be a game that's like third person or first person. It could be like any type of game. But if they do cues like when you're walking towards someone, and instead of like a bubble popping up to saying, "Hey, talk to me," he'll like start a conversation as you're walking up, like, "Hey, what are you doing? Who are you?" type of things. Even when I'm playing like isometric games like Baldur's Gate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like Pillars of Eternity, I think, does that when you're kind of walking up to a new place. It'll kind of set off like a little cutscene, and then you start talking to NPCs around in the area. Like back in the day, you would walk into a new town, and it wouldn't be until you went up to someone, saw an icon, and pressed a button, and then you start talking to them.
Right.
But yeah, the little tricks that they do kind of makes it cool.
See, like those things I really do like a lot, because it means that they're paying attention to the details of it. And for the longest time, when I played a game, when I used to finish games, which was a long time ago now, whenever I go somewhere, like in the town, like you and I, when we're playing like MMOs like ESO or whatever, whenever we're in the city or in a bar or a tavern, we put on walk. Like we like to toggle the walk mode so that we can walk through it and not just like run around like an idiot, because it's not immersion to be like, oh, I'm running around this town, I've got to do these quests. It's like, no, it's like you're in town, you're gonna walk. So when I would play single player games, whenever I'd go somewhere, I start walking. And the thing is, like, you start listening to the people around you, to the crowd around you. And once they started making games where it's like, oh yeah, the people are having conversations with themselves, you may not pay attention to it because you're moving so fast, but if you slow down, you might actually hear it. So when I started playing games like Assassin's Creed, I would start walking everywhere, and you would hear people just like having conversations with themselves. I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, I like that. That makes the game, makes the world feel more real.
Yeah, I think the Metro series, they do a really good job with that.
They do, yeah.
Because I know I played that game on the hardest difficulty with no HUD. Well, actually, they kind of had a problem with the first one, because when you turn off the HUD, like it literally turns off any cues, like any HUD. So at points I'd be like super lost as far as, hey, you need to go up to this valve and turn it. But then you got to use a specific like button or key. But since there was no icon, I would just stand there and then I'd be hitting all the freaking buttons on the controller until I got the right one.
Right.
So I like when they turn it off, but like as soon as you have to interact with something, like it'll kind of pop up. It just makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, Metro did a really good job as far as if you walk in that game, you'll hear a lot of conversations people are having by themselves. And personally, to me, like I just feel like someone spent probably weeks building this one little part of a town or this one little like pathway, and people run right through it in like 10 seconds, pay no freaking mind to everything.
Yeah, and that kind of sucks because it's like that was someone's like job, you know.
Yeah, so I like to enjoy it. I like to pick up on little things that they do like that, and it just makes the game more fun for me.
I think it definitely makes the game more enjoyable because you become that person when you're playing those games. Another good example for me, at least, was when, like, going back to Horizon Zero Dawn, when you played that game, you get like these outfits of the different clans in the game, and when you go to some of the major cities, you are able to like wear their clothes or whatever, and they're like, oh hey, like you're wearing they recognize that you're wearing one of their garbs,
like their armor and stuff.
Yeah, so it's like, and the thing is like you're playing a Nora, which are these like enclosed people that stay to their own little circle of this world, and they don't go outside their walls because they're just like they're tight knit. But once you go out there, they're like, oh, she's a Nora, like, oh, look at this Nora, she's wearing her Nora gear, she looks like a barbarian. But when you put on one of their gears, they're like, oh, you're wearing one of our stuff, oh, you have class, like I like the way I like that dress on you. Like, you look really good.
Like so how you carry yourself.
Yeah, like I like how you carry yourself, and then like they recognize that stuff. So I always thought that was pretty cool. Like, that made me slow down in cities. Like, sure, if I'm playing like quickly that night, of course I'm running around everywhere. But if I have time to take my time, I'm gonna take my time and I'll walk everywhere.
Yes, some of the Elder Scrolls games do that too. Like, depending on what race you pick, people treat you differently, and I always enjoy games that do that.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest. Like, it became more aware of that stuff. Like in
I think
Oblivion,
there's even
Skyrim.
some like in Fallout. If you're like a ghoul, you know, like in some of those like New Vegas, you could pick to be like a ghoul or whatever.
Yep. Nobody wants to talk to you.
Yeah, you'll talk to someone, they'll be like, get away from me.
Yeah. And that's a good thing about the games, because it's part of the immersion, and it makes the world feel more accurate. And that's part of the lore, though. Like, they don't want to talk to ghouls. Like, why would they want to talk to ghouls? In Skyrim, if you're anything but a Nord, Nords don't want to talk to you. Like, they're like, nah, you're not a Nord. You're not a true son or daughter of Skyrim. I got no time for you. But if you're an Imperial, they're like, some people are like, oh, Imperials, you're fine. Whereas the Skyrims or the Nords are like, don't talk to me, Imperial filth. I ain't got time for you. And that makes the game more real for me.
Yeah, I like really, I like when they do stuff like that, for sure.
You know, we've been talking about like how games kind of make immersion a thing when they implement it. As far as us, like, I don't like HUDs now. You don't like HUDs. I like subtitles. You like subtitles. Is there anything else that you do differently when you play a game to bring out that immersion? Is there? I mean, we're in the age of multitasking. I've seen you play Final Fantasy Online before. You're watching a movie while playing the game. So it's like, does that take away from your immersion? Are you not trying to be immersed at that time? What's the deal? What's the mindset when you play like that?
Yeah, like for certain games, like right now, in Final Fantasy 14, I'm really all my goal, like my main goal right now is to get over that hump, like that level 50 hump.
Hmm.
So 'cause some of the story, I'm kind of like, eh, I'm just kind of going until I get to the expansions because apparently that's when it really gets good.
Right.
So I'll watch like a NFL game, I'll watch a movie or something while I'm just out there questing. Like specifically, like even if I was doing like a job quest,
Hmm.
it's just a job, right?
Yeah.
Like I could be listening to music, like in real life. Like I'll listen to music and I can still do my job.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. But like if I'm playing The Witcher, for example, I cannot have any distractions. Like I just want to be in the world.
Definitely.
A lot of for me personally, I enjoy like audio. That makes a big difference for me. If I have like some speakers that are crappy, or like I have to listen through speakers on a TV or something, it really takes me away from that. So headphones for sure,
Hmm.
and I crank up the volume a little louder just so I can pick up little subtle noises or something
Yeah.
that I hear. So that is one way that I play differently as far as to try and get myself immersed.
Right. So I totally agree with the sound thing, because one of the games that I really loved playing that was a single player game was Uncharted. And when I played Uncharted, I remember I had this conversation with my brother-in-law like years ago. He was like, "How come you're not playing Uncharted?" And it was like in the middle of the day. And I was like, "No, I don't play that game during the day." He's like, "Why not?" I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "I prefer to play it at night, like when it's dark, because I feel like the game is a movie, so I want to kind of play it like that."
Mhm.
And this is way before like we started doing anything like this, or you started thinking about it like this. But what I was doing was like I was playing the game in an immersion kind of way, because I wanted to have that cinematic feel, that movie theater feel, and to sit there and to play the game. And I remember playing Uncharted 2, where you're in like I think it's Tibet. So you're in Tibet, and there's like so many cinematics, and one of the biggest scenes that's like one of the most iconic cinematic moments is when the game first starts, and it's like a 3-4 minute clip where Nathan Drake is sitting on the back end of a train that's hanging off a cliff in the middle of a snowstorm.
That was epic, dude.
Yeah, like that's like, and you're sitting there, you're watching it, it's just like, oh man, what's gonna happen next? And then you're sitting there, and the train's just creaking back and forth, and you're like, oh shit, I'm playing a game. That's right. Let's try to figure out how to do this real fast. Like that. That's when I realized that game deserves to be played at night. Headphones, volume amped up, and just give it the attention, give it the time of day.
You know what's crazy about that though is that was one of the games that I was okay with playing over like stereo regular TV,
Mm-hmm.
like audio and all that, because that was like one of the first games where I can tell someone who's like not really big into video games, hey, just chill here and watch me play this, and they would fucking love it. Like they were like, dude,
Yep.
when are you gonna play that again? Because what happens to Drake? You know,
It's fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
it's
that
just a good
was-
story. Yeah.
yeah, that's Naughty Dog is one of those publishers
Yeah.
that really does a good job with immersion.
They do
Like
a
The
really
Last
good,
of Us, like oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. The Last of Us is one of those games that they made that's just like they took all the best parts of the Uncharted series and they added a end of world zombie apocalypse factor and just made this game that's just amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the Naughty Dog's one of the publishers that I want to talk about as far as who does immersion best. You know, I think
Yeah.
it's for me. It's CD Projekt Red. But Naughty Dog, I think, probably is number one at this, like, right now at this point in time, because CD Projekt Red, like The Witcher 2, it was not like, it was immersive. Like, you could play with no HUD, but it was like really hard to do. But Naughty Dog, they have like 4 or 5 games already where I could play with no HUD and I just feel immersed in there. So I think Naughty Dog probably takes number one as far as who has the most immersive gameplay as far as video games.
Well, I think it also has to, like, if that's the topic that we get into, I think a lot of that will have to do with the way those games are made, like what those games are about. So with like Uncharted, it's like a different style game. Like it feels different. Like you're using guns and not swords.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not taking potions or anything like that. Like whereas like Witcher, you are. So like those things kind of factor in, I feel, to the immersion concept. It's just part of it's part of the difference. It's like at some point it's gonna be like, yeah, these games are made to be played in an immersive way, which is great. But in the end of it, even though we can compare them like apples and apples, at some point it's gonna be like, this is an apple, this is an orange, because one's fantasy and one's not.
Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying.
But that's like, but those are the reasons why we play these games. Like because they do that for us. They set those parameters, and we can take them to a whole nother level with how we play. Prime example, you know me, I'm a huge MMO player. I like World of Warcraft a whole bunch. So when I play that game, I take a different perspective when I'm playing a character. Like I almost didn't play Battle for Azeroth because I felt like my Night Elf Druid didn't care about the conflict between the Alliance and Horde. I was like, I'm not going to play that because my character doesn't care about that. That's my main. I don't care. I'm not going to do it. Perfect example of that is when Mists of Pandaria came out. The story of this guy who played a panda from level 1 to 90 in the starting zone of Mists of Pandaria, because he felt that pandas should have an option to be neutral. He didn't pick a faction. He stayed where he was the entire time. And he leveled to, at that time, cap, which was 90, by picking flowers, making herbs, making potions, inscriptions. I thought that was the coolest thing ever because, like, that's immersion, man. Like, that's, like, he's playing his character in his way. He wants to be... I was
deep in there, man.
Yeah, he wants to be neutral. Like, and that was a big story because I remember G4 TV was all over that. They were like, this dude was out here really just picking flowers for hours. And I remember they interviewed him. They're like, what did you do to pass the time? Because at some point, like, the experience points that you got from picking herbs goes down. They're like, how did you get through that? He's like, I just watched rerun television while I did it. That's all I did. And I was like, man, like, that's mad respect because that's taking immersion to a whole nother level.
Yeah, dude, that's an awesome story. I've never heard about it.
Man, that's a great story. You need to go find that article.
Yeah, if G4 has it, there might be a video out there. I'll try to check it out too.
I always aspired to be like that, honestly, like to have a panda that's neutral. But I was like, I ain't got the patience for it.
Nah, I ain't got the time.
I got the time anymore, homie.
Back in the day, maybe, but right now, like, no.
Nah. I mean, and that's why, like, the characters that I do have, like, I try to play the game as close to the lore that I can, but still having my sense of immersion. And if that means playing a certain way or getting rid of something that I can get rid of on the heads-up display, I'll do it, and it'll make the game that much more fun for me.
So what about like sometimes you play a game, right? You don't create a new character. You're kind of playing an existing character.
Okay.
A character that kind of already has like a personality, some story behind them, like there's already something there. Do you take on that role, or do you kind of do your own thing? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I totally get what you're saying, and I love this because this is I thought about this a while back, and that right there, that whole question you just asked, reminds me of when I first started playing Assassin's Creed, the second one, not the first one. When I started playing AC2, you basically take on this character of like Ezio Altadori, who's this like brash punk. He's just like, I'm cool, like no one can touch me. My father's this big shot here in Florence. No one is above me. I'm above everyone. And then what happens?
He's a jackass.
Yeah, he was kind of a jackass. Like he really was. Like he was just like But when you think about it, from the time which he grew up in, which was the Renaissance period, his family was pretty wealthy. That was that class of person. They had that sense of entitlement. So when I first started playing him, I was like, yeah, like I'm a badass, dude. Like no one can touch me. I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm causing problems. I'm going to Christina, who lives in that house, because she's this dude's father or daughter. But I go there because he doesn't like me, and you know what? I still climb that window and I'm banging her. No big deal. But that's how Ezio thought. But then once his like life gets turned upside down, like you start changing the way you play, because he's angry, he's upset, he's revengeful. So I'm out here killing all these people. I'm like, this is for my family. Stab, stab, stab. But then he's like changes, and he's like, you know, it's not like that anymore. Like we have to let that go. Like we have to become better. So then you're like changing with it. It's just like roller coaster of emotions in that one game. And that's when I started to really think about myself. Like I play video games not because they're just mind-numbing things to do and I'm bored. I play video games because I play from the perspective of character progression and narrative. And I want to understand the player that I'm playing. And I was like, boy,
you know,
this is bad.
For me, I think it really stands. Like I thought about it for the past like week, kind of like where does this come from? Like, why do I play this way? And I think it really has to do with like books. Like I read a lot of books like in my early age, like grade school and all that, and like certain books do a really good job of telling the story from the perspective of the person. Right. So like I think that's really where it comes from. For me personally, like I would read a lot of books and I'd be like, dude, I feel like this guy's feeling, I know what he's going through, kind of thing, or I kind of understand. And that kind of just carried over to video games.
I see, and I agree with that statement 100%, because in the time in which I was playing AC2, I had just switched over to studying literature, and that's what we were doing in school. We were analyzing character development from novels, from books, from fiction and nonfiction. And once I took that mindset to video games changed for me completely. Yeah.
What about like for me, like right now where we're talking about it, it kind of brings me back to Fallout 4 and why I was kind of upset with that game. I do like it does some good stuff, like you're immersed in there. I can pick the HUD and all that. I could pick the level difficulty, but one of the things that bothered me was you're looking for your kid in that game, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
But like, he's like, all right, yeah, I gotta get my kid, but let me go start a.
Did you dare
town.
fucking spoil it?
No, I'm not gonna spoil it. Like I was saying, let me find my kid. But you know what? I got about a month before I want to find my kid. Let me go start like 8 farms, so I can get my resources up, and then I'll go find my kid. And that's one of the things that really bugged me about that story. Like, no, if I was, if my kid was lost, That would be the number one priority.
Yeah, there's no
Like,
sense of urgency.
yeah, and that's that. To me, that took me out of the game, and it made me realize this is just like a freaking video game. Like, all right, yeah, I know it's. I understand that these are video games, right? But it ruined the immersion for me.
But
as
at the
far
same
as that
time,
game.
like you have to remember, you have no clue to where your daughter is. Like everything you're doing, like story wise, like not like creating settlements, because I feel like creating settlements are completely optional, because the main one that you make, like in that one starting area, like that's the one you start off with. But I feel like everything else, like story wise, is completely it's totally based off
Well,
like
here's
getting
the thing
information.
though. Here's the thing that bugged me, because it's just the way I play the game is I play it on the hardest difficulty. I even play on hardcore. Right? So I started off and I said, you know what? I'm not going to build a settlement. I'm going to go straight towards Diamond City, find out the rest of this story. But as soon as I get even close to Diamond City, I find out that I'm way underpowered. And then, like, I have to do, like,
You gotta grind some levels.
No, I don't
Yeah.
gotta grind. I gotta do some game-breaking bugs to kind of get around this stuff. Like, I gotta jump over this fence that probably should not be jumped over. Or, you know, like, I gotta do all this stuff that it's not unrealistic, kind of. Like, it just bugged me.
But I think that's the token sign of a Bethesda game. Like
Yeah.
there's always like random shortcuts that you can just kind of cheese the game a bit, but cheesing games just exist now. Like that's a thing. Like because there's so many options in the world, or at least in options in the game world, cheesing it is always going to be an option. And if you choose to cheese it, then I think like you're the only one to blame. Because like in Dark Souls, you can cheese bosses. That's not nearly as satisfying as taking it on 1v1 like a champ and getting your ass handed to you like 20 times and then learning how to defeat him. Or you can just like catch him on a bad glitch in a corner and just like cheese the hell out of him until he dies. Just like bah bah bah, and then you're like, yeah, I beat him. Was it worth it? Probably not, but you get to move on. So it's like
I did that. I think I did that for Dark Souls.
everybody does it. Like that's the thing, is like, but again, like I said, like if you do it, you have only yourself to blame because you took that route.
Yeah. I think I did that when I first started playing Dark Souls to get that one sword that shoots off like a freaking thing. Like a shockwave.
Look, I
It's
played
like
Dark Souls like a man. When I got my ass handed to me like 20 times, I gave up.
No, I kept going.
Nope. Gave
I
up.
recently got the remastered version. I never beat the game. I got really far. I don't know if I would say really far, but for me, I got far because I put like 30 hours into it. But I never beat it, so I got the remastered, and I'm gonna go back and play through it. But I read up a lot of lore ever since then, so it kind of adds to the way that game feels for me now.
Yeah, Dark
Which is
Souls
pretty
is
cool.
Dark Souls is good lore, and
It's good lore, but it's really hard to find.
it's and like just to touch on the topic of lore, at least Bloodborne is one of those games. Like I like Dark Souls, but I didn't really relate to the game that much because I didn't really like it too much. I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't just a game that I could play because it was so hard for me. So I didn't play it that much, and I didn't really get into it. However, when Bloodborne came out and Neo came out, the lore of those two games made me want to play those games. And I forced myself to get good at Bloodborne because I wanted to know how that game ended. And I wanted to play and experience those
Did you beat
games. No. Of course not. This is still during during the period of time where I stopped completing games. So I was like, I don't finish anything anymore. It's a
there's
terrible thing.
It's a problem for sure.
It is a problem.
But right now, I kind of take it like right now my Final Fantasy 14, like my playtime kind of ended, and since I already canceled Final Fantasy 14, and I stopped paying for ESO Online, I think I'm gonna take several months to go back and play like first-person games.
Oof, I don't have that in me.
Yeah, I know. You're always playing MMOs.
I can't stop, man. Can't stop, won't stop. I have them all synced up to where it's like I pay them in alternate months, or alternate half years, so I can have them all the time.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Smart.
I feel like if I paid for like Final Fantasy 14 and I'm playing something else, like in the back of my head is like, you're just throwing money away, Freddy. Go play that freaking thing, you know? So I'll be
More reasons just to kind of boot up and start playing, I guess.
Yeah.
But so since we kind of have talked a little bit about immersion and definitely have talked about lore because that's what we do, we're moving towards now getting ready to really kind of come out with lore books. You today, which is a Saturday, even though this podcast airs on a Tuesday, we recorded the ad for lore books, which means that we're getting close to getting ready to bring that out there into the interwebs, which is going to be sick. So we don't want to beat everyone down with information or lore of World of Warcraft. We're going to save that for lore books and as we go forward with that. But we want to stay on the topic of lore. And I think one of our favorite games right now that we get to play together and like actually get to play together is Destiny. And Destiny's getting ready to jump ship from Battle.net to Steam. So we're pretty stoked about that because that game's got some tremendous amount of lore.
Yeah, I already set like I don't know when you're getting the expansion, but I'm getting it on the 4th
of this month.
No,
like October. This coming month. Yeah, this coming month.
Mm-hmm. So basically the Friday after next.
Yeah, like 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know if I get it like on the 1st, I'm really not gonna play that freaking game until Friday and Saturday. So I might as well wait until Friday to get the expansion. And honestly, it leaves up a little bit more time for me to actually beat the base game.
Yeah.
Because I have not beat it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I haven't even touched the Forsaken.
Yeah,
but
me neither.
That should become free, right?
It's free right now if you pre-order the coming up expansion, because they're throwing everything in there with it. It's kind of like what WoW does with their expansions right now.
Like if you buy the latest one, you get all the following ones.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, we're talking lore here. So, with Destiny, we're getting back into it. What's your favorite race to play with Destiny right now? Or what is your go-to race when you play that game?
The Forsaken.
That's an expansion.
No, not Forsaken. Sorry, the Awoken.
Yes.
Sorry, not the Forsaken. The Awoken. I don't know why I like those guys, but I just didn't want to be. I kind of regret it because my name's DataBots. I probably should have picked the freaking robot. The Exos. Yeah, like I probably should have gone with the Exo, but I was like, nah, these guys are cool, dude. Like their skin's like blue, and I think I made my guy's hair white, and like, yeah, I don't know.
Are they called Exos? I don't want to be wrong about that.
No, I think they are called Exos.
Because they've got a really cool story about how like they became sentient, and I always refer to this as the Geth effect, which is like from Mass Effect, where the Quarians made the Geth to kind of have them do their biddings and basically make their society easier, but then they become sentient and they're just like alive. That's the same thing with the Exos. Like they became alive. They were supposed to help humans, but then they became a race of their own.
Yeah, those guys are pretty cool. It's a little too late for me to go back and make one, but if I were to do it again, I would probably pick that race.
Yeah, and Awoken for me are like is top race for me, just because they're like, I don't know. I hate saying it, but the female models are just so pretty. Like they are. They have this like. They have this weird alien vibe that has been like missing in my heart since Mass Effect ended, and it really they feel it. Destiny feels it, and I just feel like it's a good fit for me.
Yeah, one day we'll get into, choosing between male or female. Why do you always
why
go
do you play?
female?
Yeah, why do you always play? Oh, I don't always go female.
All right, every game I've ever played with you, you're a female. I mean,
80% of the games that I play are female. True. But we'll get into that.
We'll get into that one day. But
but that's a good
and
question.
I'm gonna be honest. Out of all of my friends that I play online, I'm always the guy picking male. Everyone else picks female.
I really want to say something, but we'll touch on it another episode, because that will lead to like another hour-long conversation. But as far as Destiny is concerned, so did you play the first one completely or no?
Yeah, I think I saved the world or whatever, and what was the thing? There was like a goal, like as soon as you start Destiny, like there was like a goal that you needed to do.
Like on the very beginning of the game?
Yeah, like you had to do something, or you had to become something. I forgot what it was, because I remembered I bought that game at midnight, and I was telling my now wife, back then she was just my girlfriend, I was like, I'm gonna do blah blah blah. I think it was like be the hero or something. And she would always like walk in a room, did you do that already? I'm like, no, not yet.
She's like, get good.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna marry you.
And I forgot what it was. Like it was something like some goal I was always striving for in the original one. I think it was like to save the world. I don't know.
But the thing is, like, you are like the defender of the last city on Earth, and then you're also like you're helping the traveler. And the base game was about being a guardian and defending the city and defending the traveler, because Vex and Fallen and the Forsaken? No, the Forsaken is... God damn it. You got me saying Forsaken. That's WoW. And the other ones that look like bugs, like those guys. Like, you had to, like, stop them, which was always kind of fun. But the base game was just about, like, finding out... was just lore heavy. It really was. Because it's just about, like, learning about all the enemies, all the bad guys, the whole purpose of why the traveler's there with you. And I think what's the seeker or the speaker, and learning about the speaker, which was really cool.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really pay much attention to the lore in Destiny.
Oh man.
When I first started playing Destiny 1. It wasn't until Destiny 2 where I actually started paying attention.
Some of my favorite characters in Destiny are Awokens, obviously. So like Commander Zavala. He's a what are they called? Titan, or like the Shield Guardian. They're not hunters. They're not warlocks, but yeah, they're Titans.
Yeah, Titans.
They're Titans. Yeah, I was like, what the hell? I was like, they're Titans. He's a Titan, and he's dope. I like him because he's like a strong leader. But on the other side of the coin, like, man, oh man, did you ever meet Mara Sov, the Queen of the Reef?
Yeah, if she was part of the main story, I met her because I did beat the main story.
I loved her so much.
I don't know. I don't remember much about Destiny 1, if I'm being like completely honest with you.
I feel like we should go back and play it again, but there's no way to play it again. Like
on PC or whatever.
Yeah, like it's like if it was on PC again, I'd buy it like that. Like easy. But I think you have to go back. Is Destiny 1 on PS4 or just PS3?
PS4 because I never really owned a PS3, so it must have been PS4 or Xbox. I had it on Xbox One. If I'm being honest with you,
That would
I
be.
had it on Xbox One.
Was Destiny 1 on Xbox One?
Yeah, I think that's where I actually played through the game on Xbox One.
That's the game that I really enjoy, just because the Awokens and the whole space odyssey, time traveling machines trying to kill you. God, it's so good. It's a good space odyssey game.
Yeah, I just looked it up real quick. Destiny came out on PS3, PS4, 360, and 1.
Looks like you need to get a PS4, and we're playing Destiny all over again.
If it's still even available,
Oh, why would it not be?
I don't know.
Like the story.
The
should
way
always be
stuff
available.
goes nowadays,
Yeah, I
I'm
don't- I
more
don't
willing to watch like a recap on YouTube.
That sounds
of the
good too.
story.
Let's do that instead.
Yeah.
I could probably finish that.
But yeah, I don't remember much about the Destiny 1. if I'm being
Destiny 1
honest
was
with you.
good. Like
I think it was because I played it like literally on like one weekend, and I beat the whole game, and I was like, "Well, I'm done."
that's why I remember it, because I couldn't stop.
Yeah. And then after that, all I played was Crucible for like weeks.
Crucible's good. Oh man, I gotta get back on my Crucible game.
Yeah, and I like the way they designed that, like go here and battle, you know?
Yeah, because it's not like it's not just like hey, this is just PvP for PvP's sake. No,
Yeah.
it's like the Crucible is like a training ground for all Guardians, so that you can like prepare yourself to fight against these like oncoming events that could wipe us out any minute. So that's a nice way it's a nice way to present PvP, I thought.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But with that, Fredo, let's wind this podcast down a little bit. Is there anything that you got going on that you need to announce, need to say to the good people out there listening to the podcast right now?
I finally got the Epic Game Store launcher after like reluctantly not wanting to. But
Gotta get your what's that game that's on there? Fortnite. You gotta get your Fortnite on?
Nah, nah. They gave out like $100 worth of games, and I was just like, you know what, whatever. At this point, whatever. And basically, I downloaded it.
Yo, that's what I do with PlayStation Plus. Like anytime they give out a free game, which usually they give you like a really good free game out there.
Mhm.
I mean, it's worth the subscription because I'm just building a library of games.
You'll never play.
That's beside the point. Like I've got games.
Yeah.
So suck it.
So yeah, I finally got it. So now, when the Outer Worlds comes out, I'll probably buy it. Like when it comes.
Oh, is that what it's coming on? It's coming
Yeah,
on
it's
on that.
exclusive to Epic Game Store.
Oh, that kind of sucks.
It does.
Wait, is that $100 game feature thing still free?
Yeah. It
Okay,
actually.
I'm gonna download that right now.
What they're doing every week for the foreseeable future, they're giving you free games.
All right, so you heard it here for like the first time on the DigiTavern podcast. Go download Epic Games Launcher. Go do it.
Yeah, like I don't know. I
You
didn't
can't
like
keep
it
this
as
information to yourself, man. Like, what's wrong with you?
I guess it's like a security. Like I want to get into security, like at one point, as far as network
Like-
security and all
Like,
that.
oh, okay. See, like everybody was thinking like Paul Blart, the mall cop.
Yeah, no. Like as far as like infosec, I'll say infosec. It makes a little bit more sense. As an
Does it?
infosec, like aspiring person, I don't know how to say that.
An inspiring infosec.
Yeah,
Aspiring, not inspiring.
Like
aspiring.
there's some shady stuff going on with the Epic Game Store. Like they have some shady stuff going on with China and stuff. But
Uh-oh, we're getting political here.
yeah, like I figured if there was some malware stuff already, it's been kind of ironed out at this point. So I was just like, you know what, whatever. If they're spying on me, all I do on this PC is play video games.
And jack it.
No.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to bring up because I know I've talked about it before, saying that I might get it eventually, and it happened sooner than later. What about you? You got anything on your mind?
Not so much. I'm just getting, I got this new mic, which is nice and pretty, and it's not shiny because it's in matte. But I got me a Blue Yeti mic to enhance the podcast making on my side, and I'm very happy with it. So I recommend Blue Yeti mics for all your podcasting and voiceover needs, and it's pretty clear. I enjoy it. I no longer have the mic in my face, so hopefully you don't hear a lot of like wind coming from my mouth. So,
I can hear you breathing.
So
Nah,
that's
just
pretty
joking.
good. Well, yeah, sure, if I get into it. God. But yeah, I'm glad to have this mic. It's got a boom mic, a windscreen, pop filter. Super happy with it. And I think things are going to get a lot better with this microphone, so I'm happy with this purchase.
Yeah, I still gotta work on mine. Sorry, fellas. Ladies.
Wow, are you assuming there? Oh, there it is. All right, Fredo. Well, with that, man, we're going to close this episode down here. We cut it a little short towards the end, but we've got a sufficient amount of podcast for us here. So with that, tune in for when we drop that ad where I think Fredo has done the best piece of recording he's ever had. I don't care what happens after this. Like going forward, that's the scale, that's the bar. If you can't get to that level again, I'm fucking quitting podcasting with you.
Oh no.
No, maybe not. But we'll release his ad in the coming days. I think it's probably one of the best things that he's ever recorded. It sounds great. It's full of life. I am a big fan. But that's coming up because Lore Books is coming around pretty soon. And we're looking to maybe put it out there by October. Because we want to make sure everything's set in stone before we do that. Other than that, keep up with us on our social media. The Twitter is at the DigiTavern. I'm at J114. He's at Databots with a Z. And anything else, Fredo?
Shout out to Travis. All right, man. Thanks for listening, dude. Shout out for you.
Because he's the only one. Yeah, shout out to Travis. You're a special guy.
All right.
Love you.
Peace out, fellas. Ladies.
And ladies, goodbye.